Welcome back, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the United Kingdom one-penny coins. While pennies may seem small and insignificant, some of these coins are highly sought after by collectors and can fetch a surprising amount of money at auctions. In this video, we'll be counting down the top 5 most valuable UK one-penny coins, examining their years, mint marks, conditions, and what makes them so rare. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting, this guide will help you spot coins that could be worth far more than their face value. Let's get started. First up, the United Kingdom one penny dated 1945, examined specifically in a rusty or heavily corroded condition. At first glance, a rusty penny might look like pocket change ready for the bin, but collectors know better. Even damaged coins can tell powerful stories, and in some cases, they can still command surprising prices at auction. Stay with us as we explore the background, features, rarity, and current auction market value in US dollars, and share expert tips on collecting coins in worn or rusty condition. The 1945 British one penny was issued at the very end of World War II, a time when the United Kingdom was emerging from years of conflict, rationing, and economic strain. Coins from this era reflect the realities of wartime Britain: metal shortages, heavy circulation, and intense public use. The penny was struck during the reign of King George VI, whose portrait appears on the obverse. These coins were produced in large numbers to meet everyday transactional needs, but the harsh conditions of the 1940s meant many were exposed to moisture, poor storage, and constant handling. As a result, surviving examples today often show corrosion, pitting, or rust-like surfaces, especially when improperly stored for decades. The 1945 one penny is composed primarily of bronze, an alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. Over time, bronze coins are particularly vulnerable to environmental damage. When exposed to moisture, soil, or chemicals, the surface can develop dark corrosion, rough textures, and what collectors commonly describe as rust, even though bronze technically corrodes rather than rusts. The obverse features a left-facing bust of King George VI with a Latin inscription identifying his royal titles. The reverse displays the classic seated Britannia holding a trident, a design deeply rooted in British coinage tradition. Even in rusty condition, key design elements, date, portrait outline, and Britannia can remain visible, which is crucial for collector interest. In general, the 1945 one penny is not rare in high mintage terms, but rarity in numismatics is not solely about how many coins were struck. It's also about how many survive today in identifiable condition. Coins from the mid-1940s were heavily circulated, and many were later melted, lost, or damaged beyond recognition. Collectors who specialize in wartime and post-war British coinage often seek representative examples, even if they are corroded or rusty, because they reflect authentic circulation history. There is also a niche market for collectors who focus on error coins, metal deterioration, or as-found condition pieces, which gives damaged 1945 pennies a level of demand that casual collectors may overlook. When it comes to auction market value, condition plays a major role. A 1945 UK one penny in mint or uncirculated condition can reach significantly higher prices, but our focus today is on rusty or heavily worn examples. In the current market, a rusty or corroded 1945 penny typically sells in the range of $433,000 at online auctions. However, coins with clear dates, readable inscriptions, or unusual corrosion patterns can sometimes fetch $216,000, especially if bidding competition is strong. Exceptionally interesting pieces such as those with dramatic patina, provenance from old hoards, or accompanying historical context may even exceed these ranges. While these values are modest, they prove that damaged coins are not necessarily worthless. For collectors interested in rusty or damaged coins, knowledge is key. First, never aggressively clean a corroded coin, as cleaning can destroy what little collector value remains. Instead, preserve it as is. Second, always verify the date and authenticity. Corrosion can sometimes obscure details, so magnification helps. Third, store bronze coins in a dry, stable environment using acid-free holders to prevent further deterioration. Finally, understand your collecting goals. If you're building a historical set, a rusty 1945 penny may be a perfect, affordable placeholder that still carries genuine wartime character. In conclusion, the United Kingdom one penny of 1945 even in rusty condition, remains a meaningful collectible tied to a pivotal moment in history. While it may not be a high-dollar rarity, its connection to the end of World War II, its classic Britannia design, and its continued presence in today's auction market make it worth a second look. For collectors who appreciate history over perfection, this humble, corroded penny tells a story far richer than its modest price tag. If you enjoyed this deep dive into British coinage, next up the United Kingdom 1 penny 1938, specifically in black shade or heavily toned condition. At first glance, a darkened or damaged coin might seem worthless, but in the world of numismatics, even imperfect coins can tell powerful stories and sometimes surprise collectors at auction. In this video, we'll uncover the history behind the 1938 penny, examine its unique features, discuss its rarity and collector demand even in damaged condition, and break down its current market value in US dollars. Stay tuned, because you might look at old pennies very differently after this. The 1938 British 1 penny was issued during the reign of King George VI, a monarch whose rule marked a turning point in British history. Coming just 1 year before the outbreak of the Second World War, this coin belongs to the final years of relative peace before Britain entered a period of hardship, rationing, and global conflict. The penny was struck at the Royal Mint in London and produced in large numbers for everyday circulation. At the time, pennies were essential coins, used daily by people from all walks of life. As a result, most 1938 pennies saw heavy circulation, which explains why high-grade examples are harder to find today. Coins with black shading or dark toning often reflect decades of use, storage in poor environments, or chemical reactions with air and moisture over time. On the obverse, the 1938 penny features the left-facing portrait of King George VI, along with the Latin inscription Georgiv 6D-GBR-OMNREX, meaning George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons. This portrait is admired for its realism and simplicity. The reverse displays the iconic Britannia seated with trident and shield, a design that symbolizes Britain's strength, stability, and maritime power. The coin is made of bronze, which naturally darkens over time. In black shade condition, the penny often appears deep brown to almost black, sometimes unevenly colored. While this reduces visual appeal, it adds character and historical authenticity, showing the coin's long journey through time. In general, the 1938 penny is not considered rare in terms of original mintage. However, condition plays a huge role in collectability. Most surviving examples today are worn, cleaned, or darkened. Coins in black shade or damaged condition are common, but they still attract collectors who focus on date sets, George VI era collections, or affordable historical coins. Some collectors actively seek dark-toned coins because they represent untouched surfaces and natural aging. While damaged coins do not command premium prices, demand remains steady due to the coin's historical importance and the popularity of pre-decimal British coinage worldwide. When it comes to auction and market value, condition is everything. A 1938 UK 1 penny in black shade or damaged condition typically sells for around $1 to $3, depending on legibility, overall wear, and eye appeal. Coins with clear details, readable date, and intact Britannia design may reach the higher end of this range. In contrast, heavily corroded or barely identifiable examples may sell for less than $1. For comparison, uncirculated or high-grade 1938 pennies can sell for $30 to over $114,000, showing just how dramatically condition affects value. Even so, damaged coins still hold value as historical artifacts and entry-level collectibles. If you own a 1938 penny in black shade condition, do not clean it. Cleaning can permanently reduce its value. Store it in a dry, protective holder to prevent further corrosion. When buying, look for strong details and natural toning rather than harsh damage. Beginners should see this coin as a learning piece, affordable, historic, and widely recognized. Advanced collectors may use it to fill gaps in date collections until better examples are found. Always compare recent auction results to understand realistic pricing and avoid overpaying. In conclusion, the United Kingdom 1 penny 1938, even in black shade or damaged condition, remains a fascinating piece of British history. While it may not make you rich, it carries the weight of a nation on the edge of war and reflects decades of everyday life. Its modest auction value in dollars makes it accessible to collectors around the world, proving that you don't need perfect coins to enjoy numismatics. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a humble yet historic penny. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny dated 1913, examined specifically in dirty or heavily circulated condition. At first glance, a grimy old penny might seem ordinary, but as collectors know, age, history, and survival all play a role in value. In this video, we'll explore why the 1913 penny still attracts attention, how its condition affects demand, and what kind of auction market value it can achieve today in US dollars. Stay tuned, because even worn coins can tell powerful stories, and sometimes bring surprising prices. The 1913 British 1 penny was struck during the reign of King George V, who ascended the throne in 1910. This period sits just before the outbreak of World War I, making the coin part of a rapidly changing era in British and global history. Pennies of this time were used daily by working-class citizens, meaning most examples saw heavy circulation. Minted in bronze, the 1913 penny was produced at the Royal Mint in London and reflects the industrial strength and global reach of the British Empire at its height. Because pennies were the backbone of everyday transactions, very few were preserved carefully, especially in the early 20th century and the obverse. The 1913 penny features the bare-headed portrait of King George V, facing left, with a Latin inscription Georgives V Dei Gra Brit Omn Rex. This translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons. The reverse displays the iconic Britannia seated, holding a trident and shield, a design deeply rooted in British coinage tradition. In dirty condition, many of these details may appear softened or partially obscured, but the core design elements are usually still visible. Collectors often look for clear dates and readable legends, even when surfaces are darkened by age and grime. In terms of mintage, the 1913 penny is not extremely rare, but rarity in collecting is not only about how many were made, it's also about how many survive today in collectible form. Because most examples were heavily used, truly clean or high-grade pieces are scarce. Dirty, corroded, or worn coins are far more common, yet they still hold appeal. Beginner collectors, history enthusiasts, and bulk penny collectors often seek these affordable examples to complete date runs. Additionally, coins with strong historical context, like pre-World War I issues, maintain steady demand even in damaged condition. So, what is a dirty 1913 UK penny worth today? In very worn or dirty condition, typical market values at auction generally range from $2 to $8, depending on legibility and overall eye appeal. Coins with heavy corrosion or barely readable dates may sit at the lower end of this range. However, examples that are dirty but structurally sound, with a clear date and recognizable Britannia, can sometimes reach $10 to $15, especially if multiple bidders are interested. Prices can fluctuate based on auction platform, collector interest, and global demand for early George V coinage. If you own a 1913 penny in dirty condition, resist the urge to clean it aggressively. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and reduce value. Instead, store the coin in a dry, protective holder to prevent further deterioration. When buying, focus on date clarity, rim integrity, and overall originality. Even a dark or grimy coin can be desirable if it hasn't been harshly cleaned. For sellers, clear photographs and honest condition descriptions help attract serious bidders. Collectors on a budget often appreciate affordable historical coins like this one. The United Kingdom 1 penny of 1913 may not be a headline-grabbing rarity, but it remains a meaningful and collectible artifact from a pivotal moment in history. Even in dirty condition, it carries over a century of stories from everyday commerce to the brink of global conflict. With modest but consistent auction values in dollars, this coin proves that you don't need a perfect specimen to enjoy collecting or to find value. If you have one tucked away in a drawer or inherited collection, take a closer look. You might be holding a small, time-worn treasure. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny 1949, examined specifically in fine condition. At first glance, this copper coin may look ordinary, but to collectors, it represents a fascinating period in British history and holds steady interest in the numismatic market. In this video, we'll break down its background, design features, rarity, collector demand even in damaged condition, and most importantly, its current auction market value in US dollars. So grab your coin magnifier and let's dive in. The 1949 1 penny was issued during the reign of King George VI, just a few years after World War II. Britain was still recovering from the economic and industrial strain of the war, and this recovery period influenced coin production, materials, and minting priorities. The Royal Mint continued producing bronze pennies for everyday circulation, as small denomination coins were essential for daily transactions in post-war Britain. The obverse of the coin features the portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget, while the reverse displays the iconic Britannia seated with trident and shield, a design that had been associated with British pennies for centuries. Although the 1949 penny was minted in relatively large numbers compared to some earlier dates, many coins saw heavy circulation, making higher-grade survivors more desirable today. The 1949 UK 1 penny is struck in bronze, composed primarily of copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. It measures approximately 30.8 millimeters in diameter and weighs around 9.4 grams, consistent with pre-decimal British penny specifications. What makes this coin interesting to collectors is not a dramatic design change, but rather its historical context and condition sensitivity. In fine condition, details such as King George VI's hairlines, facial contours, and the folds in Britannia's gown are still clearly visible, though softened by circulation. The legends remain readable, and the date 1949 is usually bold and clear. These features help collectors distinguish an average worn example from a more collectible fine-grade coin. From a strict mintage standpoint, the 1949 penny is not considered extremely rare, but rarity in numismatics is not just about how many were made, it's about how many survive today in collectible condition. Many 1949 pennies were heavily used, cleaned, bent, or corroded over decades of circulation. Even damaged or heavily worn examples still attract beginner collectors, bulk buyers, and history enthusiasts. While such coins carry low individual value, they remain popular as affordable entry pieces into British pre-decimal coin collecting. Collector demand increases noticeably when the coin is free from major defects, making fine condition an important threshold where value and interest begin to rise. When it comes to auction market value, condition is everything. A 1949 UK 1 penny in fine condition typically sells in the range of $2 to $6, depending on eye appeal, originality, and auction competition. Coins with smoother surfaces, natural color, and no signs of harsh cleaning often achieve prices at the upper end of this range. Examples in very fine or extremely fine condition can exceed $10 to $20, while uncirculated pieces, though much harder to find, can command significantly higher prices. On the other hand, damaged or heavily worn coins may sell for under $1, often in mixed lots. Auction platforms, collector demand, and market trends all play a role, so prices can fluctuate over time. If you're collecting or investing in the 1949 1 penny, start by examining condition carefully. Look for even wear, clear details, and natural color. Avoid coins that show signs of aggressive cleaning, such as unnatural shine or scratches, as these reduce value. Proper storage is essential. Use coin flips, capsules, or acid-free holders to prevent further wear or corrosion. If you believe your coin may be in higher grade, consider professional grading, especially if you plan to sell it at auction. Finally, keep an eye on completed auction listings rather than asking prices to understand the real market value. In conclusion, the United Kingdom 1 penny 1949 may not be the rarest British coin, but it holds solid historical significance and dependable collector interest. In fine condition, it represents a sweet spot for collectors, affordable, recognizable, and tied to an important post-war era under King George VI. Whether you're building a British penny date set, exploring pre-decimal coinage, or simply curious about the value of an old coin you found, the 1949 penny is a classic piece worth appreciating. Next up, the United Kingdom 1 penny from 1907. While it may seem like just another old penny at first glance, this coin holds significant historical value and catches the eyes of collectors around the world. In this video, we'll explore its history, unique features, rarity, and even what it could be worth in today's auction market, specifically in damaged condition. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting your journey, this guide will give you everything you need to know about the 1907 1 penny. The 1907 1 penny coin was minted during the reign of King Edward VII, who ruled from 1901 to 1910. Edward VII's coins marked a transitional period in British numismatics, bridging the Victorian era with the early 20th century. The 1 penny coin itself was a staple in everyday transactions, used by the working class and traded in markets, shops, and homes across the United Kingdom. Despite its common use, the 1907 penny is now considered highly collectible due to its age and the relatively limited number of surviving specimens. Over a century later, coins like this one serve as tangible connections to Britain's rich history and economic past. The 1907 penny features the left-facing portrait of King Edward VII on the obverse, with the inscription Edward 7 Dei Gra, Brit, OMN, Rex FID, Def circling the edge. The reverse design is equally classic, displaying Britannia seated on a rock, holding a trident with a shield by her side. This design remained a symbol of British coinage for decades. Collectors are particularly drawn to the fine details of Britannia's robes, the shield, and the king's facial features. Even in damaged condition, traces of these intricate details can provide insight into the craftsmanship of early 20th century minting. While pristine examples of the 1907 penny can command high prices, coins in damaged condition are still highly sought after. Damage may include scratches, worn surfaces, corrosion, or bending, often caused by the coin's long circulation. Despite this, many collectors are interested in these coins because they remain historically significant and represent a tangible link to the past. Damaged coins are also more accessible for new collectors who want a piece of history without the high price tag of mint-condition specimens. Moreover, certain years and minting errors, even when damaged, can significantly boost collector interest. The value of a 1907 penny in damaged condition varies depending on the severity of the wear, rarity, and demand at auction. On average, such a coin might sell for anywhere between $10 to $50, though coins with specific minting errors or unique characteristics can fetch higher prices. Auctions sometimes surprise even experienced collectors, with coins selling above their expected value due to competitive bidding. It's worth noting that coins in better condition, with minimal damage, can command hundreds of dollars, making even damaged examples a cost-effective entry point for collectors. If you're looking to add a 1907 penny to your collection, there are several tips to keep in mind. First, always verify the authenticity of the coin through a reputable dealer or numismatic expert. Even damaged coins can be valuable, but counterfeit or altered coins are common in the market. Second, understand the grading system. Coins are graded from poor to uncirculated, and even damaged coins have grades that affect their value. Third, consider the coin's provenance. Knowing its history or prior ownership can increase its collectible appeal. Finally, store your coins carefully in protective sleeves or albums to prevent further damage and preserve what remains of its historical charm. The United Kingdom 1 penny from 1907 is more than just a small copper coin, it's a piece of British history. Even in damaged condition, it tells the story of a bygone era, from the reign of King Edward VII to everyday life over a century ago. Collectors value it not just for its monetary worth, but for the history it carries and the craftsmanship it represents. Whether you're starting your collection or seeking a rare historical piece, the 1907 penny offers a tangible link to the past and an exciting opportunity to engage with British numismatics. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a treasure from our coin collection series.